Do you know your medicine?
Weed Maps and SC Laboratories bring you an educational series on the science of clean and safe cannabis. Today's profile is on plant growth regulators.
Plant growth regulators are used specifically to control the growth of plants. For example, PG&E will use plant growth regulators to stop the vertical growth of trees growing into power lines. Most plant growth regulators have been banned in the United States for several years now for food crops. They're still perfectly legal to use on ornamentals and in other crops, but the problem is some of those plant growth regulators have found their way into the hydroponics industry.
In this industry, they're being used because people feel it's sort of a cheat. It's an easy additive with which to add weight to a crop. Unfortunately, what it is it's incredibly destructive and dangerous to the patient.
These chemicals have been banned for use on all consumable crops by the EPA since the late 80s. But yet, since the hydroponic industry is so wildly unregulated, these are currently some of the most common products. Phospholode, Bushmaster, Gravity, Top Load, Flower Dragon. These are a few various names. And these chemicals, just recently in May 2011, for the second time in the last few years, the California Department of Agriculture has issued cease and desist in the selling of these chemicals.
The manufacturers of these additives aren't required to list all of their ingredients. So imagine you may pick up a bottle and see the back of something and it may say, just trust us. I don't know why it works, but it works. You know, that sort of misleading and almost propaganda-like BS is creating a situation where you're using a product unknowingly. You know, you may think you're doing a service, but in fact you're spreading poison.
So there have been studies that show that when ingested, paclobutrazol is toxic to the liver. Another plant growth regulator that is often used when growing medical marijuana is alar. And alar is already well known to be a possible carcinogen to humans.
This chemical actually breaks down into a secondary metabolite, which is in fact even more toxic.
It presents a big problem for patients and anyone consuming this cannabis because it's not meant to be used on food crops, and some of them can be very potentially dangerous.
So studying and testing for secondary metabolites as well as these known plant growth regulators is incredibly important.
SC Labs tests for plant growth regulators in cannabis plants using high-performance liquid chromatography using a mass spectrometer as a detector. It's very similar to our pesticide and our fungicide test. It's something we've added additionally that a lot of other labs that are doing this testing haven't begun offering yet.
Because patients have an awareness and patients need to be highly considered. I believe that it's pertinent that they know that their medicine's been tested by somebody who's both reputable and who's both reliable. And for them, it gives them that assurance that, you know, a laboratory like SC Laboratory has put a stamp on it. When you see that symbol, it actually means something. It stands for something.